You think you're prepared because you've got a bunker and a year's worth of canned beans. Congratulations, you've mastered the tutorial level. But here's what every solo prepper discovers too late. The moment you break your leg hauling water, or catch pneumonia from sleeping in the cold, or simply fall asleep for 8 hours while raiders circle your compound, your mountain of supplies becomes someone else's treasure chest. You're not Rambo. You're not a one-man army. You're human, which means you're vulnerable, finite, and absolutely doomed without the right people watching your back. The brutal mathematics of group survival aren't taught in those cute preparedness forums where keyboard warriors debate bug-out bags. They're learned in the real world where every successful community throughout human history figured out the same fundamental truth. 4 roles, 4 specific functions that turn a collection of panicked individuals into an actual tribe that survives when everything else collapses. Miss even one of these roles, and your group becomes a liability factory, a drama-filled death spiral that implodes faster than a reality TV show. But get all 4 positions filled by the right people, and you've got the foundation for rebuilding civilization from the ground up. Today, we're breaking down the group survival blueprint that separates the communities that thrive from the ones that become cautionary tales. These aren't suggestions. These aren't nice-to-have positions you can fill later when things calm down. These are the 4 non-negotiable roles that every functional tribe must have from day one, and the specific qualities you need to look for in each person before you trust them with your life and the lives of everyone you care about. Role number 1, the strategic commander. Every group needs exactly one person making final decisions when seconds matter and democracy becomes a luxury you can't afford. Not a committee, not a council. One individual with the psychological profile and skill set to process information rapidly, weigh competing priorities, and issue clear directives that everyone follows without hesitation. This isn't about ego or power trips. It's about survival mathematics and human psychology under extreme stress. Here's what most people get catastrophically wrong about leadership in crisis situations. They think the loudest person should lead, or the person with the most supplies, or whoever talks the toughest game around the campfire. Wrong on all counts. The strategic commander needs 3 specific qualities that have nothing to do with volume or bravado. First, rapid decision-making under incomplete information. When you've got 30 seconds to decide whether to fight, flee, or hide, and you only have 40% of the information you'd prefer, your commander needs the cognitive architecture to process options and commit to action. Analysis paralysis kills groups faster than bad decisions, because indecision is a decision to let circumstances choose for you. Second, emotional regulation under extreme pressure. The commander cannot be the person who loses their mind when things go sideways. They need the neurological wiring that keeps them functional when everyone else is operating on pure panic. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about maintaining executive function when stress hormones are flooding the system and rational thought becomes difficult for most people. The commander stays calm so everyone else can afford to feel their fear without losing operational effectiveness. Third, the ability to make unpopular decisions and enforce them. Sometimes survival requires choices that feel wrong, that violate peacetime social norms, that leave people unhappy. The commander must be willing to be hated if being hated keeps the group alive. They need the psychological fortitude to say no to individual desires when those desires threaten collective survival. This means turning away refugees when resources are stretched thin. This means making someone leave the group if they're creating dangerous dysfunction. This means rationing medical supplies even when someone you care about needs them desperately. The commander isn't necessarily the smartest person in the group or the most skilled at any particular task. They're the person everyone trusts to make the hard calls, and the person everyone follows when following quickly matters more than understanding why. They process input from the other 3 roles, synthesize that information into actionable decisions, and communicate those decisions clearly enough that implementation happens smoothly. Without this role filled properly, your group becomes a collection of individuals working at cross purposes, debating when they should be acting, paralyzed by indecision when momentum could save lives. But commanding requires accurate information to function effectively. Raw intelligence about threats, opportunities, and changing conditions. That's where role number 2 becomes absolutely critical for group survival. Role number 2, the intelligence gatherer. Information is the oxygen of tactical decision-making, and without someone dedicated to collecting, analyzing, and reporting actionable intelligence, your commander is making life or death choices blindfolded. This isn't the person who thinks they know everything because they read survival blogs. This is the individual with the methodical mindset and observational skills to become your group's eyes, ears, and analytical brain. The intelligence gatherer operates on 3 levels of information collection that most groups completely ignore until it's too late. First, immediate tactical awareness. What's happening right now within a 5-mile radius of your position? Who's moving through the area? What resources are available? What threats are developing? What opportunities exist for scavenging or trade? This requires someone who can move quietly, observe without being detected, and return with accurate reports, rather than emotional interpretations colored by fear or wishful thinking. Second, strategic pattern recognition. What are the larger trends affecting your region over weeks and months? Are other groups growing stronger or weaker? Are resources becoming more or less available? Are government or military forces establishing control or withdrawing completely? Is winter coming early? Are disease outbreaks spreading? Are supply chains recovering or deteriorating further? The intelligence gatherer connects dots that others miss because they're focused on immediate survival rather than medium-term positioning. Third, human intelligence about other survivors. This is the psychological profiling that keeps your group from making fatal mistakes about who to trust, who to trade with, who to avoid, and who represents existential threats. The intelligence gatherer develops the ability to read people accurately under stress, to detect deception, to identify competence versus incompetence, and to recognize the personality types that either contribute to group cohesion or destroy it from within. What makes someone effective in this role isn't paranoia or suspicion, though healthy skepticism helps. It's methodical observation combined with analytical thinking and emotional detachment. They can gather information without getting emotionally invested in what that information means. They report what they observe rather than what they hope or fear. They ask the right questions, remember important details, and present findings in ways that help the commander make better decisions without overwhelming them with irrelevant data. The intelligence gatherer also serves as early warning system for internal group dynamics. They notice when personality conflicts are escalating before they explode into group-destroying drama. They identify when someone's mental health is deteriorating in ways that could compromise operational security. They recognize when resource distribution is creating resentment that threatens group unity. This internal intelligence function prevents most group implosions before they reach critical mass. But intelligence without the ability to act on it becomes academic exercise. Your group needs someone who can translate information into operational capability, someone who can take the commander's decisions and the intelligence gatherer's reports and make things happen in the physical world. That's role number 3. The operational executor. Role number 3, the operational executor. This is the person who transforms decisions into reality, who takes the commander's orders and the intelligence gatherer's information and makes things happen in the physical world. While others plan and analyze, the executor builds, fixes, procures, and implements. They're the difference between having great ideas and actually surviving long enough to benefit from them. The executor needs 3 critical capabilities that separate them from people who just work hard. First, resourcefulness under constraints. They can look at available materials and figure out how to create what the group needs, using what actually exists rather than what they wish they had. This means improvising water filtration from coffee filters and activated charcoal. This means turning scrap metal into cooking surfaces or defensive barriers. This means jury-rigging solar panels to charge essential electronics. The executor sees solutions where others see problems. Second, technical competence across multiple domains. They don't need to be master craftsmen, but they need functional knowledge of basic engineering, construction, mechanical repair, food preservation, and energy systems. When the water pump breaks, they fix it. When the shelter needs reinforcement, they build it. When food needs to be preserved before it spoils, they process it. The executor prevents the small failures that cascade into group-ending disasters. Third, work ethic that doesn't require external motivation. When everyone else is tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed, the executor keeps working. They understand that survival is a daily choice requiring daily action. They don't wait for perfect conditions or complete information. They start with what they have and improve iteratively. The executor keeps the group operational when momentum is the difference between progress and decay. The executor also serves as the group's interface with physical reality. They're the ones who know how much firewood actually exists, how much food is really left, what equipment is failing and needs attention, while the commander and intelligence gatherer work in the realm of information and decisions. The executor works in the realm of calories, materials, and mechanical systems. They provide the reality check that keeps planning grounded in what's actually possible. But even the most capable executor can't sustain operations indefinitely without the fourth role, the one most groups overlook until it's catastrophically too late. Role number 4, the group mediator. Human psychology under stress is predictable and destructive. People become irritable, paranoid, selfish, and prone to conflict when basic needs are uncertain and social norms have collapsed. Without someone specifically focused on managing internal group dynamics, even the most well-supplied and tactically sound communities tear themselves apart from within. The mediator prevents this by maintaining the social cohesion that keeps the other 3 roles functioning effectively. The mediator needs psychological insight that goes beyond just being friendly or likable. First, they must recognize the early signs of group dysfunction before they become irreversible. They notice when workload distribution is creating resentment. They identify personality conflicts that are escalating toward violence. They detect when individuals are becoming psychologically unstable in ways that threaten everyone's safety. Early intervention prevents most group explosions. Second, they need conflict resolution skills that work under extreme stress when people aren't rational or cooperative. This means knowing how to de-escalate arguments before they become physical fights. This means mediating resource disputes fairly enough that both parties accept the outcome. This means helping people process trauma and grief without letting those emotions destabilize group operations. The mediator manages the human element that determines whether your group functions as a team or implodes as a collection of competing individuals. Third, they maintain morale and hope when circumstances are grinding everyone down. The mediator reminds people why they're working together, celebrates small victories, and helps the group maintain identity and purpose beyond mere survival. They organize the social rituals, shared meals, and cultural practices that keep people human rather than allowing them to become desperate animals. The mediator preserves what makes survival worthwhile. The synergy between these 4 roles creates something greater than the sum of its parts. The commander makes decisions based on intelligence reports, directs the executor to implement those decisions, and relies on the mediator to maintain group unity throughout the process. The intelligence gatherer provides information to the commander, coordinates with the executor on reconnaissance needs, and works with the mediator to assess internal group stability. The executor implements the commander's decisions, provides feedback to the intelligence gatherer about operational realities, and supports the mediator by ensuring everyone's basic needs are met. The mediator maintains the social foundation that allows the other 3 roles to function without being undermined by interpersonal drama. Without all 4 roles filled properly, groups fail predictably. Commands without intelligence make blind decisions. Intelligence without execution remains theoretical. Execution without mediation creates internal conflict. Mediation without command becomes endless debate. Each role depends on and reinforces the others. Remove anyone, and the entire system becomes vulnerable to cascade failure. The time to identify and develop these roles is now, before crisis forces you to improvise under pressure. Look around your current social network and honestly assess who has the psychological profile and skill set for each position. Practice these roles during normal times, so the dynamics become natural when survival depends on them. Build the relationships and trust necessary for people to follow commands, share intelligence, execute orders, and resolve conflicts cooperatively. Commander, intelligence gatherer, executor, mediator. 4 roles, 1 tribe, the blueprint that separates the survivors from the statistics. Start building your team now, because when the collapse comes, you won't have time to figure out who does what. You'll only have what you prepared.